Hey guys, we need your help. We've noticed not all of you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, so subscribe today.
Subscribe, hit that button.
I spent a lot of time this past week recalculating kind of who's going to be my Super Bowl pick, who is projected to win each division. So, why don't we today take a look at things and kind of tier things off? We'll go with who we're thinking will be in the Super Bowl now and then like work our way down from there. How does that sound?
Okay, let's do it. I'm excited
All
to see
right.
how you go about it. And I have zero data analytics involved. I go straight off
Perfect.
feel and what I see out there from complete teams and whatnot. And, I want to see how our lists kind of align.
I love that. All right. So for me, obviously, right now, we have it's week 12. Every team's played at least 10 games, if not more. We have some interesting data points. It feels like two teams are going to run away at the top of their division, but funny for me, I only have one of those teams making the Super Bowl. So for me, the Eagles, who sit in pole position right now, they're in a division that I don't think they're going to surrender pole position and then get that week one bye. They're my pick over from the NFC. That was consistent with what I had prior to the season starting. And then on the other side, it has now switched to the Denver Broncos. I have this because of their defense, not because of their offense yet, but the defense, what they were able to do, especially against Patrick Mahomes and an offense who we know can be exceptional. Andy Reid coming off a bye. He was 22-4. Now he's 22-5. Whatever. But, never count 15 out. But ultimately, what I'm saying from them is without Pat Surtain, I did not think this game would go this way. Without Jonah Ellis, I did not know Alex Singleton. They were missing pieces and still able to make the necessary adjustments. So to me, the defense, and you'll notice both of these teams have really strong defenses, same with the Eagles, and perhaps some things to figure out on offense. That has forecast for greater success for me going forward. It's like defense plus O lines equal Super Bowl. What do you think of my picks and what are yours?
So we got to take all bias, nothing to do with you calling the Broncos preseason games. No homer in there, right?
I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl ahead of the season, so it would have been closer to my homerism picking after been or not it has been some time. I mean, I still look, I love most teams in the NFL, especially the people on them, but ultimately, no homerism. The Lions aren't in it.
Yeah, I know. As you get the Lions jersey. Look, I got a lot of helmets behind me, so I
You
just got to
do?
clear all my biases out, get that out the way. See, I throw it on you first before I start naming my team, so you can use that on me. Look, the Eagles are defending champions. Um, they've been there before. We know that regardless of how they're playing in a 1v1 matchup, a game 7 matchup, and you got to beat them once, right? So they're gonna know how to win a playoff game, right? So they're a team that's obviously going to be up there in a lot of people's minds. And in Denver, it's hard. The defense is there. The offense has been slow, but they still have a great play caller. And obviously, Bo Nix has been a cardiac kid all year. So I'm fine with that. I do not have either of those teams as my favorites.
Okay.
Neither. All right. Mine is going to be really the crown of the AFC right now, not slowing down New England Patriots. Okay. And that's because Mike Vrabel's won coach of the year before, and it looks like he's going to win it again. Drake May is a legitimate MVP candidate. Josh McDaniels has been a quarterback whisperer his whole career, from Tom Brady, that's Tom Brady doesn't count, to Mac Jones's Pro Bowl season, to Tim Tebow's might have had a Pro Bowl year under Josh McDaniels. And now you're talking about what Drake May's doing. He's playing so efficient. It's ridiculous how good he's playing just from a historical standpoint, right? He has great command of that offense. And then defensively, they stop the run really well, which matters. When I know it doesn't always matter, but it matters in the playoffs about field position, stopping the run, your defense, and they have great ability to play man-to-man coverage. And in all the Super Bowl teams I've been on, I've been in 3 Super Bowls, all those teams had the ability to play man-to-man in critical situations and stop the run consistently. That's one thing that we did have in common. So I really like New England for all those reasons, obviously. And then my I think the best team in the league's the LA Rams. I've said that I think I said weeks ago on the pod that they're the crown of the NFC, and they're only getting better, right? Sean McVay, a great coach, a great quarterback MVP candidate in Matt Stafford, a great defense, young, completely rebuilt defense, great pass rush. They play really smart zone coverage, but what they do in the red area, how they have defined the low red zone of saying we are either just going to run the ball or throw a one-on-one route to Devontae Adams for 10 touchdowns this year. I don't understand why every offense just doesn't do that. If it's one-on-one, we're just going to throw them. It's called a two. They just give a two up. Tom Brady used to give it to Gronk. And all that means is you have a two-way route. Run the slant. If he takes away the slant, I'm throwing the fade. You don't know if the fade's going to be back shoulder or back pylon, right? There's like 4 different ways you could throw the fade ball, and he can run the slant. And that's very hard for the DB to defend. But when you have a great route runner like Devontae Adams, he has 10 red zone touchdowns. So the Rams are going to get touchdowns in the red zone until people figure out how to stop that, and that's very hard to stop. So I have the Rams and I have New England. Those are my top 2, and I think they're going to stay consistent throughout.
So to me, I love your arguments about the Rams. First of all, I have to point out because I think it's such an amazing stat that Devontae Adams, of those 10 touchdowns, 7 of them have been for sub 5 yards
Oh, yeah.
and have
All
been
low
when the
red.
Rams have been with a lead, which is that's just a while. I mean, it doesn't mean anything, but it's a
He
fun
might finish
stat.
with like 20 touchdowns. He might finish with 17 touchdowns. They're not
And like
it's their
55
go-to
yards.
play down there. It's
And
their
like
go-to
55
play.
yards on those touchdowns.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's straight up. It's honestly so many teams struggle down there, and it's really simple. I don't understand why the Eagles don't do it. Have a run play called. If A.J. Brown's one-on-one, throw him an isolated route. The lineman can block downfield in the low red. Nobody cares. It's going to be a quick throw, and either you hand the ball to Saquon if they have 9 or less at the 8 or less at the line of scrimmage, and if they have 9 or more in the box and they have a one-on-one, throw the ball to A.J. Brown. I think everyone would be happy. You won't run the turf push as much, but your stars will get fed and it'll still work.
That is catnip for Eagles fans to say Kevin Patullo to ignite the Kevin Patullo. What's it like? You're giving them some catnip right there, but you're not wrong. But it's just funny because Eagles fans are there's 2 camps of Eagles fans: people who think Kevin Patullo needs to go, and liars, right? Like that's the way they feel right now. So when I'm when I'm looking at the Eagles, so to me the 2 things that are interesting here. The reason part of the reason why the Eagles forecast to be my Super Bowl pick is because they do forecast to get that bye. I also have the Patriots forecast to get the bye, which is contrarian to my pick of the Broncos. The only thing that I have, the only like data point that doesn't make it the Patriots is they're requiring one player to have so much efficiency that it's hard to find a comp for in one game sample size of the playoffs to have that work every single time. And Drake May is being super efficient. So should we see Travion Henderson keep his rushing ability up, not just scoring touchdowns, right? But like ability to run the football consistently, that would potentially shift things for the Patriots. But requiring Drake May to have all of these deep passes, it's hard. It's just like what we've seen from Josh Allen in playoffs in the past, or Joe Burrow for that matter. So it's very hard to get that sort of consistency over and over again when you have kind of a lot on one player. That's part of why and again, I have the Patriots as the 1 seed and getting the solo bye. But by the way, the NFC for me, it looks like it's kind of decided. So the 7 teams other than okay, I have the Lions in over the Bears. I think the Bears are a little fugazi in part because they haven't played a single playoff team yet. But um the NFC is far less competitive that to me than the AFC. So maybe we should switch now to our
Well, let
contenders
me
for
let me
which
just counter that real
yeah,
quick because it was just our
yeah.
top 2 teams and everyone else could
No,
go
of
quicker.
course. But this is the most important ones.
Right. So, okay. So I think the Patriots, they are requiring a lot out of Drake May, but Travion Henderson has done well. But again, dominant defense on the other side with a defensive head coach, right? The ability to get key stops in the 4th quarter. Man up. You got to just do it, right? On when the other team goes for it on 4th down, the other team goes for it on 3rd down, right? And then you obviously have the coaching advantage in Mike Vrabel, what he does situationally to end out games. There's a huge part of the middle 8 where we talk about the final 2 minutes of the final 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half, right? That sandwich, the middle 8 there, and then obviously the end of game stuff. He is so good. I saw him purposely not try to score against the Bucks. Did you see that? He would rather not get points or score later in the down than to give the ball back to Baker Mayfield.
That's
He
right.
didn't try to score on I haven't seen that ever, I don't think, in my years of football. So he does things that are kinda crazy or borderline genius of strategy because he understands I'd rather have the ball last this half, right? And everyone says that, but everyone's gonna try to score on first down there against the Bucks. He didn't do that. So I just think the Mike Vrabel thing and the defense is helping out Drake May so he doesn't have to be such an MVP candidate. They also have balance on the coaching and the defensive side. And then for the Rams, in my opinion, you have the Eagles. They played last year. The Rams played the Eagles better than anybody in the playoffs, right? Better than the Super Bowl, better than the Commanders played, and we know how close that game was. I think the Rams are a better version of themselves this year than they were last year. I don't think the Eagles are as strong as a version as they were last year. So if that's a rematch as an NFC Championship game or that's a rematch as a divisional game, I think the Rams are the better team this year compared to what the Eagles were, and it was an extremely close game last year, and the Eagles were on fire last year. It's hard to say they're just gonna catch fire again because they were last year. I felt that in New England just because we went to the Super Bowl last year doesn't mean we're the same team the next year. We were always pretty good, but weren't always the same team from year in to year out.
We'll see a test for the Eagles without Lane Johnson for the next couple of games with his injury, so that will be a huge difference. Right tackle, massively important. We haven't seen Saquon really get going to the degree we're used to. I mean, it'll be interesting. I'm curious. The Patriots have an easy schedule going forward. Is there any what are your I mean, you can only play the schedule that the schedule makers have made for you, but, without any real like, a lot of remaining big tests, is that an advantage or a disadvantage heading into the playoffs? Because you're not gonna have to face as much adversity as you would if you were playing the schedule. I mean, the freaking Chiefs may not even make the play their schedule's so hard. Now you have the Patriots, their schedule's relatively light.
Yeah, I think it's either way, right? I think sometimes you wanna be tested, but at the same time, you're winning games. You're gonna set up an easier road of having hosting home games, which is much easier. Look, the playoffs are the playoffs, but home games are preferred. And then, look, you have the Bills in your division. I mean, that is a test of a test. I mean, having to play Josh Allen twice a year is a test, right? And they had early season adversity. I remember getting calls from some Patriot writers like, "What's going on with Mike Vrabel? We fumbled 5 times against the Steelers. Like, I thought he was gonna bring this discipline." And I was like, "Give it time. It's like week 3." Right? So they had some fumbling issues. They've had some injuries, like everyone has, right? It wasn't like it's just they started the year 10-0 like Pittsburgh Steelers have done in the past. They started off a little slow, and now they've obviously gotten better. Then they're like, "Oh, they haven't played anyone. Now they got to play the Bucks." They played the Bucks, beat the Bucks. Oh, they got the Jets on a short week trap game, beat the Jets. And then they got to see the Bills again, right? And I think that is what it is. You don't make your schedule, but he's got to learn how to win a football game. Sometimes you're the better team on paper. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you got to go on the road. They're undefeated on the road. So those are all adverse things. It's hard to win on the road, even in the NFL. And I think those are all things they're responding well to. It's not their fault they're winning games. It's not their fault they're winning games.
Well, their
I don't
fault they're
think,
winning.
yeah, it's not their fault they're winning. It's not their fault their schedule's their schedule. They sucked last year. That's why their schedule's easier. That's just how the schedule makers make it. They're
Yep.
just handling these other teams that weren't good last year. They're handling it better.